Okay, all of this generally makes sense to people when we're talking about the barbell. We start off in base and we're going to be using kettlebells off a lift to teach the deadlift. And then in build, we introduce the bar and make sure they can move correctly through an entire range of motion. Kids move to boost and they're doing an actual strength program and we can introduce Olympic lifting. People can see the pathway. But how do we use this when we're talking about bodyweight work, gymnastics? Let's take something like handstand walking. The typical way you see a handstand walking being taught is you'll see a coach mark off, let's say, 5 meters, and then they say, okay, I want you all to try to get upside down and walk the 5 meters. And they'll have 1 or 2 kids who are eventually successful. And they look like scorpions with their legs hanging over like this and kind of walking along. But a lot of times they're unsuccessful with most of their class. How would Brand X coaches apply the principles of base, build, boost to learning a complex bodyweight skill like handstand walking? Let's take a step back and think about the process a baby takes in learning to walk. So the first thing a baby does is crawl to a table, and then they pull themselves up to standing, holding onto the table. And then they learn to pull themselves up and kind of walk around the table. And then they pull themselves up and they let go of the table and they balance. And after that, they take their first steps. So it's a stepwise process of them learning to stand, balance, and then walk. What would you think if you went over to a friend's house who just had a child, maybe a 1-year-old, and you see the kids pull themselves up on the table, and suddenly your friend shoved them in the back, and they said, I want him to learn how to run. Well, dude, that's not appropriate. You're skipping some steps. Probably going to stall the process here. So if we apply that kind of developmental model of learning to base, build, boost, suddenly it makes a lot of sense. To learn to handstand walk, we would want to start in base and teach the movement skills kids need to handstand. How to hold their body in a good, strong tree position, and how to put their shoulders in safe position. Then we'd apply those rules to movements, like tier 1 movements, like maybe a wall walk-up. And the goal of a wall walk-up wouldn't be, can you get all the way up with your feet pressed against the wall, your belly pressed against the wall, and your body in some kind of funky position while they're going up. No, we'd want them to get up in a good position while they move up the wall. And once they can do that, well, we can go to build. Now they can do a good wall walk-up in a good position. They can hold that position. They can do things like shoulder taps against the wall. Maybe learn to move just sideways across the wall. Then we can help them kick up into a handstand and work on a handstand holding in a really good position. And once they can hold that handstand in a really good position, we move to boost. Now they're ready to start working on handstand walking. So eventually they can kick up into a good handstand and begin walking with their legs together, feet pointed, body stacked in a great position. But a really important thing here is because they've mastered the rules and spent the time in base and build, they can now increase the complexity of what they're doing. So now we can ask them to kick up into a handstand, walk 5 meters, pause, continue to walk. Kick up into a handstand, walk 5 meters, pause, do a 360 and continue to walk. Do an obstacle course. Because they know the rules for the movement, they've practiced them, and they've gained control in a biologically appropriate or developmentally appropriate way, we can introduce complexity, really interesting movement problems that engage our kids. And we'll have more success with more kids than we would by simply having them try this complex movement. So following this base, build, boost model, we create kids who are amazingly athletic and set them up for a lifetime of success. And because kids are moving from success to success in our programs, they stay with us longer and help our gym and program be more successful.